According to your promise, what new thought has turned you from them, Father? I console myself for Troy's fall, that grim ruin, weighing out one fate against another in the scales. But now, when they have borne so many blows, the same misfortune follows them. Great King, what finish to their troubles will I give you? After Antenor slipped through the Achaeans, he could explore Illyrian coves and reach the Liberians' inland kingdoms, and source of the Timavus. Through 9 openings with a great rumble in the mountain wall, it burst from the ground there and flood the fields in a rushing sea. And yet he chose that place for Padua and new homes for Ticreans, gave them a name, set up the arms of Troy, and now rest in his peace. As our slaves, as for ourselves, your own children, whom you make heirs of heaven, our ships being lost, this is unspeakable. We are forsaken through one enemy's rage and kept remote from Italy. Is this the palm for royalty? This our power restored. As he smiled at her, the Father of gods and men, with the serenity that calms the weather, and lightly kissed his daughter. Then he said, "No need to be afraid, Cytherea. Your children's destiny has not been changed. As promised, you shall see Lavinian's wall and take up then, amid the stars of heaven, great souled Aeneas. No new thought has turned me. Know he your son. Now let me speak of him in view of your consuming care at length, unfolding secret fated things to come. In Italy he will fight a massive war, beat down fierce armies, then for the people there establish city walls and a way of life. When the Rutilians are subdued, he'll pass 3 summers of command in Latium, 3 years of winter quarters. But the boy Ascanius, to whom the name of Iulus now is added, Elos, while Ilium stood, will hold the power for all of 30 years, great kings of wheeling months. He will transfer his capital from Lavinium and make a fortress Alba Longa. 3 full centuries that kingdom will be ruled by Hector's race until the queen and priestess Ilia, pregnant by Mars, will bear twin sons to him. Afterwards, happy in the tawny pelt, his nurse, the she-wolf, wears young Romulus, will take the leadership, build walls of Mars, and call by his own name his people Romans. For these I set no limits, world or time, but make the gift of empire without end. Juno indeed, whose bitterness now fills with fear and torment sea and each and earth and sky, will mend her ways and favor them as I do, Lord of the world, the toga bearing Romans, such in our pleasure. As the years fall away, an age comes when Assaracus' royal house will bring to servitude Thessalian Pythia, renowned Mycenae, too, and subjugate defeated Argos. From that comely line, the Trojan Caesar comes to circumscribe empire with ocean. Fame with heaven star, Julius's name from Iulus handed down. All tranquil shall you take him heavenward, in time laden with plunder of the east, and he with you shall be invoked in prayers. Wars at an end, harsh centuries then will soften. Ancient Fides and Vesta, Quirinus with brother Remus will be lawgivers, and grim with iron frames the gates of war will then be shut inside unholy furor. Squatting on cruel weapons, hand and hand behind him by 100 links of bronze, will grind his teeth and howl with blooded mouth. That said, he sent the son of Maia down from his high place to make the land of Carthage, the new built town, receptive to the Trojans, not to allow Queen Dido, all unknowing as to the fated future, to exclude them. Through the vast air with stroking wings he flew, and came down quickly on the Libyan coast, performing Jove's command, so that at once Phaeacians put aside belligerence as the god willed. Especially the queen took on a peaceful mood and open mind towards Tucrians. But the dedicated man, Aeneas, thoughtful through the restless night, made up his mind as kindly daylight came to go out and explore the strange new places to learn what coast the winds had brought him to and who were living there. Men or wild creatures, for wilderness was all he saw, and bring report back to his company the ships he had beneath a hollowed rocky cliff, and groves that made a vault, trees all around, and deep shade quivering. He took his way with only one man at his side, Achates hefting two hunting spears with broad steel points, and suddenly in front of him his mother crossed his path in mid forest, wearing a girl's shape and a girl's gear, a Spartan girl, or like that one of Thrace, Harpalus, who tire horses outrunning the swift Hebrus. She had hung about her shoulders the light handy bow a huntress carries, and had given her here to the disheveling when her knees with bare, her flowing gown knotted and curled up. She spoke first. Ho, young fellows, have you seen, can you see where? One of my sisters here, in a spotted lynx hide, belted with a quiver, scouting the wood or shouting on the track behind the foam-flecked boar. To Venus, then the son of Venus answered, No, I've heard, or I haven't, I have heard or seen none of your sisters. Only how shall I address you, girl? You look your looks not mortal, neither has your accent a mortal ring, O goddess, beyond doubt. Apollo's sister, one of the family of nymphs. Be kind, whoever you may be. Relieve our trouble. Tell us under what heaven we've come at last. On what shore of the world are we cast up? Wanderers that we are, strange to this country, driven here by winds and heavy sea. By my right hand, many an offering will be cut down for you before your altars. Venus replied, Be sure I am not fit for any such devotion. Tyrrhenian girls are given to wear quivers and hunting boots of crimson lace on the leg up to the knee. This is the Punic kingdom that you see. The folk are Tyrian, the town Agenors, but neighboring lands belong to Libya. Agenors, but neighboring land belongs to Libya. A nation hard to fight against in war. The ruler here is Dido of Tyre city, in flight here from her brother, a long tale of wrong endured, mysterious and long. But let me tell the main events in order. Her husband was Sachius, of all of Phoenicians, richest in land and greatly loved by her ill-fated woman. Her father had given her a virgin still in marriage, her first right. Her brother, though held power in Tyre, Pygmalion, a monster of wickedness beyond all others. Between the two men, furious hate arose, and sacrilegiously before the altars, driven by a blind lust for gold, Pygmalion took Sachius by surprise and killed him with a dagger blow in secret. Undeterred by any thought of Dido's love, he laid what he had done for a long time, cozening her, deluding the sick woman with false hope. But the true form of her unburied husband came in a dream, lifting his pallid face before her strangely. He made visible the cruel altars, and his body pierced, uncovering all the dark crime of the house. He urged her then to make haste and take flight, leaving her fatherland, and to assist the journey, revealed a buried treasure of old time, unknown to any, a weight of gold and silver. Impelled by this, Dido laid her plans to get away and to equip her company. All who hated the tyrant, all in fear as bitter as her own, now came together, and ships in port already fitted out they commandeered to fill with gold the riches Pygmalion had itched for went to sea. and captaining the venture and captaining the venture was a woman. They sailed to this place where today you'll see stone walls going high and the citadel of Carthage, the new town. They bought the land called Drumskin from the bargain made at a tract they could enclose with one bull's hide. What of yourself? From what coast do you come? Where are you bound? Then to the questioner he answered, sighing, bringing out the words from deep within him, Goddess, if I should tell our story from the start, if you had leisure to hear our annals of adversity before I finish, the fair evening star would come to close Olympus and the day. From old Troy, if the name of Troy has fallen perhaps upon your ears, we sailed the seas and yesterday were driven by a storm of its own whim. Upon the Libyan coast I am Aeneas, duty bound and known above high air to heaven by my fame, carrying with me in my ships our God of hearth and home. Saved from the enemy, I look for Italy to be my fatherland, and my descent is from all highest love. Jove. With 20 ships, I mounted the Phrygian Sea as my immortal mother showed the way. I followed the given fates. Now barely 7 ships are left, battered by wind and sea, and I myself, unknown and unprovisioned, crossed the Libyan wilderness, an exile driven from Europe and from Asia. But Venus chose to hear no more complaints and broke in midway through the bitterness. Whoever you are, I doubt heaven is unfriendly to you, as you still breathe life-giving air on your approach to the Tyrian town. Go on, betake yourself this way to the Queen's Gate. Your friends are back. This is my news for you. Your ships were saved and brought to shore again by winds shifting north, or else my parents taught me augury to no purpose. Look, see the 12 swans in line rejoicing there. Jove's eagle, like a bolt out of the blue, had flurried them in open heaven, but now they seem to be aligning one by one, or looking down on those already grounded, as they disport themselves with flapping wings after their chanting flights about the sky. And your ships company just so your ships and your ships companies are either in port or entering under sail. Go on then, where the path leads, go ahead. On this she turned away, rose pink and fair, her nape shone, her ambrosial hair exhaled divine perfume, her gown rippled full length, and by her stride she showed herself a goddess. Knowing her for his mother, he called out to the figure fleeting away, you cruel too, why tease your son so often with disguise? Why may we join hands and speak and hear the simple truth? So he called after her and went on towards the town. But Venus muffled the two wayfarers in grey mist. A cloak of dense cloud poured around them, so that no one had the power to see or to accost them, make them halt, or make them what they came for, or ask them what they came for. Away to Paphos, through high air she went, in joy to see her home again, her shrine and 100 altars where Sabaean incense fumed and garlands freshened the air. Meanwhile, the two men pressed on where the pathway led, soon climbing a long ridge that gave a view down over the city and facing towers. Aeneas found where lately huts had been, marvelous building gateways, cobbleways, and din of wagons. There the Tyrians were hard at work laying course for walls, rolling up stones to build the citadel, while others picked out building sites and plowed a boundary furrow. Laws were being enacted, magistrates and sacred senate chosen. Here men were dredging harbors. There they laid the deep foundation of a theater and quarried massive pillars to enhance the fugitive stage, as bees in early summer in sunlight in the flowering fields hum at their work and bring alone the young full grown to behood as they cram their combs with honey, brimming all the cells with nectar, or take newcomers' plunder, or like troops alerted, drive away the lazy drones, and labor thrives, and sweet themes scents the honey. Aeneas said, "How fortunate these are, whose city walls are rising here and now." He looked up at the roof, for he had entered swathed in cloud, strange to relate among them, mingling with men, yet visible to none. In midtown stood a grove that cast sweet shade, where the Phaeacians, shaken by wind and sea, had first dug up the symbol. Juno showed them a proud war horse's head. This meant for Carthage prowess in war and ease of life through ages. Here, being built by the Sidonian queen, was a great temple planned in Juno's honor, rich in offerings and the godhead there. Steps led up to a sill of bronze with brazen lintel and bronze doors on groaning panes. Here in this grove, new things that met his eyes calmed Aeneas' fear for the first time. Here, for the first time, he took heart to help for safety and to trust his destiny more, even in affliction. It was while he walked from one to another wall of the great temple and waited for the queen, staring amazed at a Carthaginian promise, at the handiwork of artificers, and the toil they spent upon it. He found before his eyes the Trojan battles in the old war now known throughout the world, the great Atridae, Priam, and Achilles, fierce in his rage at both sides. Here Aeneas halted, and tears came. "What spot on earth," he said, "what region of the earth? Chatis is not full of the story of our sorrows. Look, here is Priam. Even so far away, great valor has due honor. They weep here for how the world goes, and our life that passes touches their hearts. Throw off your fear. This fame ensures some kind of refuge." He broke off to feast his eye and mind on a mere image, sign often cheeks grown wet with tears, to see again how, fighting around Troy, the Greeks broke here and ran before the Trojans, and there the Phrygians ran as plump Achilles harried them in his war car. Nearby then he recognized the snowy canvas tents of Rhesus, and more tears came. These betrayed in first sleep. Diomedes devastated, swording many, till he wrecked his with blood, then turned the mettlesome horses towards the backhead before they tested Trojan's grass or drank at Anthus ford. And on another panel, Troilus, without his armor, luckless boy, no match for his antagonist Achilles, appeared, pulled onward by his team. He clung to his war car, though fallen backward, hanging on to the reins still, head dragged on the ground, his javelin scribblings in the dust. Meanwhile, to hostile palace shrine, the Trojan woman walked with hair unbound, bearing the rope of offering, in sorrow entreating her, beating their breasts. But she, her face averted, would not raise her eyes, and there was Hector dragged around Troy walls 3 times, and there for gold Achilles sold him, bloodless and lifeless. Now indeed Aeneas heaved a mighty sigh from deep within him, seeing the spoils, the chariot, and the corpse of his great friend, and Priam, all under arms, stretching his hands out. He himself he saw in combat with the first of the Achaeans, and saw the ranks of dawn, black Memnon's arms, then leading the battalion of Amazons with half-moon shields. He saw Penthesilea, fiery amid her hosts, buckling a golden girdle beneath her bare and arrogant breast, a girl who dared fight men, a warrior queen. Now, while these wonders were being surveyed by Aeneas of Dardania, while he stood enthralled, devouring all in one long gaze, the queen paced towards the temple in her beauty, Dido with a throng of men behind, as on Eurotas, bank of Cynthus Ridge, Diana trains her dancers, and behind her, on every hand, the mountain nymphs appear, a myriad converging, with her quiver slung on her shoulders. In her stride, she seems the tallest, taller by a head than any, and joy pervades Latonia's quiet heart. So Dido seemed in such delight she moved amid her people, cheering on the soil of a kingdom in the making, at the door of the goddess' shrine under the temple dome, all hedged about with guards on her high throne. She took her seat, then she began to give them judgments and rulings, to apportion work with a fairness or assign some task by lot. When suddenly Aeneas saw approaching, accompanied by a crowd, Antheus and Sergestus, and brave Cloanthus, with a few companions, whom the black hurricane had driven far over the sea and brought to other coasts. He was astounded, and Achates too felt thrilled by joy and fear. Both of them longed to take their friend's hand, but uncertainty hampered them. So, in their cloudy mantle, they hid their eagerness, waiting to learn what luck these men had had, where on the coast they left their ships, and why they came. It seems spokesmen for all the ships were now arriving, entering the hall, calling for leave to speak. When all were in, and full permission given to make their plea before the queen, their eldest, Ionius, Ionius with composure said, Your Majesty, granted by great Jupiter freedom to found your new town here and govern fighting tribes with justice, we poor Trojans, won by winds on every sea, entreat you, keep away calamity of fire from our ships, let a God-fearing people live, and look more closely to our troubles, not to ravage Libyan herds, or turn with plunder seaward, have we come, that force and that audacity are not for beaten men. There's a country called by the Greeks Hesperia, very old, potent in warfare and in wealth of earth. Oenotiri- Onotrians farmed it, younger settlers now, the tale goes, call it by their chief's name Italy. We laid our course for this, but stormy Orion and a high sea rising deflected us on shoals and drove us far, with winds against us, into whelming waters, unchanneled reefs. We kept afloat a few to reach your coast. What race of men is this? What primitive state could sanction this behavior? Even on beaches, we are denied a landing, harried by uttery and attack, forbidden to set foot on the outskirts of your country. If you care nothing for humanity and merely mortal arms, respect the gods, who are mindful of good actions and of evil. We had a king, Aeneas, none more just, more zealous, greater in warfare and in arms. If fate preserves him, if he does not yet lie spent amid the insensible shades, but still takes nourishment of air, we need fear nothing, neither need you repent of being first in courtesy to outdo us. Sicily too has towns and plowlands, and a famous king of Trojan blood, Asates, may we be permitted here to beach our damaged ships, hew timbers in your forests, cut new oars, and either sail again for Latium, happily if we recover shipmates and our king. Or else, if that security is lost, if Libyan waters hold you, Lord Aeneas, best of Trojans, hope of Iulus gone, we may at least cross over to Sicily, from which we came to homesteads ready there, and take Acetes for our king. Ilioneus finished, and all the sons of Dardanus murmured assent. Dido, with eyes downcast, replied in a brief speech, cast off your fear. You Teucrians, put anxiety aside. Severe conditions and the kingdom's youth constrain me to these measures to protect our long frontiers with guards. Who has not heard of the people of Aeneas of Troy city, her valors and her heroes, and the fires of the great war? We are not so oblivious. We Phaeacians, the sun yokes his team within our rage at Carthage. Whether you choose Hesperia Magna and the land of Saturn, or Eryx in the west, and King Acetes, I shall dispatch you safety with an escort, provision for my stores, from my stores. Or would you care to join us in the realm on equal terms? The city I build is yours. Haul up your ships, Trojan and Tyrian will be all one to me. If only he were here, your king himself, caught by the same easterly Aeneas. Indeed, let me send out trustworthy men along the coast with orders to comb it all from one end of Libya to the other, in case the sea casts the man up and now he wanders lost in town or wilderness. Elated at Dido's word, both staunch Achates and Father Aeneas had by this time longed to break out of the cloud. Achates spoke with urgency. My lord, born to the goddess, what do you feel? What is your judgment now? You see all safe, our ships and friends covered. One is lost. We saw that one go down, ourselves amid the waves. Everything else bears out your mother's own account of it. He barely finished when the cloud around them parted suddenly and thinned away into transparent air. Princely Aeneas stood and shone in the bright light, head and shoulders noble as the gods. For she who bore him breathed upon him beauty of hair and bloom of youth, and kindled brilliance in his eyes, as an artist's hand gives style to ivory, or was set pure silver, or white stone of Paros in framing yellow gold. Then to the queen he spoke as suddenly as to them all. He had just appeared. Before your eyes I stand, Aeneas the Trojan, that same one you look for, saved from the sea of Libya, you alone, moved by the untold ordeals of old Troy, seeing us few whom the Greeks left alive, worn out by faring ill on land and sea, needy of everything, you'd give these few a home and city, allied yourself. Fit thanks for this are not within our power, not to be had from children's anywhere dispersed in the great world. May the gods, and surely there are powers that care for goddess, for goodness. Surely somewhere justice counts. May they and your own consciousness of acting well reward you as they should. What age so happy brought you to birth? How splendid were your parents to have conceived a being like yourself, so long as brooks flow seaward and the shadows play over mountain slopes and highest heaven feeds the stars, your name and your distinction go with me, whatever lands may call me. With this he gave his right hand to his friend Ilonius, greeting Serestus with his left, then took the hand of those brave men, Cloanthus, Caius, and the rest, Sidonian Dido stood in astonishment, first at the sight of such a captain, then at his misfortune, presently saying, "Born of an immortal mother though you are, what adverse destiny dogs you through these many kinds of danger? What rough power brings you from sea to land in savage places? Are you truly he, Aeneas, whom kind Venus bore to the Dadari, to the Dardanian, the young Anchises, here to the stream of Phrygian Simois? I remember the Greek Teucer came to Sidon, exiled and in search of new kingdom. Belus, my father, helped him. In those days, Belus campaigned with fire and sword on Cyprus and won that island's wealth. Since then, the fall of Troy, your name, and the Pelasgian kings have been familiar to me. Too, sir, your enemy spoke often with admiration of the Teucrians, and traced his own descent from Teucrian stock. Come then, soldiers, be our guests. My life was one of hardship and forced wandering like your own, till in this land at length fortune would have me rest. Through pain I've learned to comfort suffering men. She led Aeneas into the royal house, but not before declaring a festal day in the god's temple. As for the ship's companies, she sent 20 bulls to the shore, 100 swine, huge ones with bristling backs, and fatted lambs, 100 of them and their mother ewes, all gifts for happy feasting on that day. Now the queen's household made her great hall glow as they prepared a banquet in the kitchen. Embroidered tablecloths, proud crimson dyed, were spread and set with massive silver plate or gold engraved with brave deeds of her fathers, a sequence carried down through many captains in a long line from the founding of the race. Meanwhile, paternal love would not allow Aeneas' mind to rest. He sent Achates on a quick mission to the ships to tell Ascanius and bring him to the city, found the father, as always, thoughtful of his son, and told Chatis to fetch gifts as well. Relics of Ilium, a robe stiff with figures, worked in gold, and a veil woven round with yellow ascanthus flowers, both adornments worn by Argive Helen when she sailed from Pergamum, and her forbidden marriage, marvelous keepsakes of her mother Leda. Along with these, a scepter, Ilion, eldest of Priam's daughters, once had used a collar hung with pearls and a coronet doubled in gems and gold. Given these orders, Achates lost no time seeking the ships. Our Lady of Cythera, however, pondered new interventions and new strategy that her young godling son desire should take the face and figure of Ascanius, then come and use his gifts to make the queen infatuated, inflaming her with lust to the marrow of her bones. Venus no doubt lacked faith in the ambiguous royal house and Tyrian's double dealing. Then the spite of Juno vexed her. Her anxieties recurred as night came on, so she addressed him, Amor, god of caressing wings, my son, my strength, my greatest power, my one and only, making light of our high father's bolt. His giant killer, I must turn to you and beg the force of your divinity. You know how brother Aeneas has been tossed from one coast to another on the high seas by bitter Juno's hatred. You know this, and in my grieving for him, grieve as well. Now the Phaeacian woman Dido has him, making him linger with her blandishments. And what may come of this Junonian welcome? worries me seriously. Juno will act at such a crisis of affairs accordingly. What I propose is to ensnare the queen by guile beforehand, pin her down in passion, so she cannot be changed by any power, but will he kept on my side by profound love of Aeneas. Take heed of our thought, how you may do this. The boy prince, my greatest care in the world, must go now to the city summoned by his father, taking gifts saved from the great sea as the fires of Troy. I'll drug him in his sleep, then hide him well, high up in Cythera or on Cyprus, over Idalium in my shrine. There is no way for him to learn this trick or interfere or counterfeit his figure for one night, no more, and make the boy's known face your mask, so that when Dido takes you on her lap amid the banqueting and wine and joy, when she embraces you and kisses you, you'll break invisible fire into her and dupe her with your sorcery. Amor agreed with his fond mother's plan of action, put off his wings, and gaily walked as Iolaus. Venus, in turn, sent through Ascania's body rills of slumber, caught him to her breast, and bore him to Idalia's aerial groves, where beds of marjoram embraced him in soft bloom and breathing shade. Soon then the godling, doing as she wished, happily following where Achates led, carried the royal gifts to the Tyrians. He found the queen amid magnificence of tapestries, where she had placed herself, in the very center, on a golden couch. The father, Aeneas, and the Trojan company came in to take their case on crimson cloth. House boys filled their finger bowls and brought them bread in baskets, napkins knobbed smooth. In the great kitchen there were 50 maids to set the dishes out in a long line and tend the fires that shone for the herd's gods. 100 others and as many boys of the same age loaded the boards with meat and placed the wine cups. Tyrians as well came crowding through the radiant doors, all bidden to take their ease on figured cushioning. There they admired Aeneas' gift, admired Iolaus with his godling's face aglow, and simulated speech. Then the great robe, the veil that yellow acanthus flowers edged, and more than anyone the Phaeacian's queen, luckless already, given over to ruin, marveled and could not have enough. She burned with pleasure in the boy and in the gifts. After hugging Aeneas round the neck and clinging to him, answering the love of the deluded father, he sought the queen, and she with all her airs and heart embraced him, fondling himself at times upon her breast, oblivious to how great a God sat there to her undoing, mindful of his mother. He had begun to make Sachias fade from Dido's memory bit by bit and tried to waken with new love, a living love. Her long settled mind and dormant heart. After the first pause in the feast and after trenches were taken off, they put out wine bowls, grand and garlanded, a festive dinner now rose and echoed through the palace halls. Lighted lamps hung from the coffered ceilings, rich and gold leaf, and torches with high flames prevailed over the night. And now the queen called for a vessel heavy with gems and gold that Bilas and his line had always used. She filled it, dipping wine, and her long hall fell silent. Jupiter, she prayed, you make the laws for host and guest. They say, grant that this day be one of joy for Tyrians and men of Troy. Grant that it be remembered by our descendants. Now be with us, Bacchus, given of happiness and kindly Juno. and all Utarians attend in friendliness this meeting that unites us. At this, she tilted a libation out and put the vessel lightly to her lips, then, with a jest, gave it to Bitias, who nearly immersed himself in brimming gold as he drank down the foaming wine. The bold passed then to other lords and Lord Iopas, with flowing hair, whom giant Atlas thought made the room echo to his golden lair. He sang the strain, moon and toiling sun, the origin of mankind and the beast of rain and fire, the rainy Hyades, Arcturus, the great bear, and little bear, the reason winter suns are in such haste to dip in ocean, or when holds the nights, or what holds the nights endless in winter. Tyrians at this redoubled their applause. The Trojans followed, and Dido, fated queen, drew out the night with talk of various matters while she drank long draughts of love. Often she asked of Priam, often of Hector, now of the armor Memnon, the son of Dawn, had worn, now of the team Diomedes drove, now of the huge Achilles. Come rather, then she said, dear guest, and tell us from the beginning the Greek stratagems, the ruin of your town and your seafaring, as now the seventh summer brings you here from wandering all the lands and all the seas.